video edits. All right, cool. So components of a resume, definitely it's got to have your name. Nowadays, people tend not to put their street address and city because we kind of live in a global internet world. But phone number and email is still important, but people expect to have a website. So people expect today job candidates have at minimum a LinkedIn page that looks like an active website. So you want to include that. You want to have a LinkedIn page. If you don't, you should go today after this class and set one up. Most of the interns have pages. It's real simple. You're going to find Ilya there, and you can join the group and put Ilya as, you know, place that you work. But if you click here, you can see all the people that are associated with Ilya. If we look at it as just a member, and maybe this is something you guys can update as well. So we've got a few pictures here, some posts. Usually the posts we put here are more professional related to, you know, things like that, classes and whatnot. But yeah, so that's something you should expect to see on a resume these days is a LinkedIn address. Skills, which could be bullet points, those are important. Important for a number of reasons. One, it kind of summarizes what you know. Two, today computers search the resumes for these words. If they don't see these buzzwords on it, your resume won't be selected. So if you're applying for, let's say, a job that does medical scribing, right? And you don't have the word scribe or typing or something like that, the software won't pick it up. And you might be a great candidate, but just they never picked you up and it never went to the hiring manager. Then comes experience and education. For you guys, since you're still young and in school, it makes more sense to put education first. You want to, for young people who have been working less than 3-5 years, education should come first and then experience next. People have been working for 10-20 years, education can be later in the resume. For someone who's been in your age, 1-2 pages max is good. Employers for someone who's still in high school or college won't expect to see more than a 1-page resume. Now, if you're an active person and you've done a lot of great things and you need 2 pages, I mean, that's fine. But, you know, be objective. When it comes to awards, you only want to list the awards that relate to what you're applying to. So if you're applying for a computer internship or job, don't put that you got, you know, lifeguard award of Ocean City 2018. No one cares because you're trying to get a computer job. But if you're getting a youth chaperone job where you're going to go out with youth on the mountains and trips, then yeah, include the lifeguard and maybe don't put something that's not too relevant. So just, you know, be cautious about real estate and how to use your space. All right. Nowadays, also, it's not a bad idea to have something that looks aesthetically different, like a line, a vertical line. Like here, Hanan had 2 columns. These are kind of starting to gain momentum and are looking more pleasing and attractive, or horizontal lines and things like that. All right, so any questions on resumes before we move on?
No questions.
Okay, so let's look at why documents are important, then we'll jump into dashboards and close with a couple of other things about web conferences and so forth. So I want to share with you this thing here. Let me get it. All right. There was a space shuttle called, I believe it was Challenger. Challenger blew up in, actually Columbia, I'm sorry. Challenger also had an accident, but Columbia is the one that blew up in 2003 in January. It was cold. It took off from Florida, and shortly after takeoff, it just went into flames, and everyone on board died, and they actually stopped the space shuttle program after that. So they went back and looked, you know, obviously many federal agencies were involved and Congress had hearings, and they said, what went wrong? Why did this thing blow up right after takeoff like that? And they pinned down the source of the problem to a PowerPoint slide. All right, this slide here. Boeing and I think another contractor were working on this for NASA. They were contracted by the government. And in a technical engineering review meeting, they had a slide which is titled Review of Test Data Indicates Conservatism for Tile Penetration. In other words, they're saying we're conservative if the tile of the shuttle, the tile covers the shuttle to protect it from heat when it comes back into orbit, into the atmosphere from space. There's a lot of friction, so it doesn't go up in flames. Basically what they're saying, if it gets hit with something, it can kind of protect itself. So as you can notice here, in this slide, they use 6 levels, or they use multiple levels of bullets. And they used here an acronym. Because of space constraints, sometimes people shortcut things. So instead of writing the full words here, spray on foam insulation, they wrote SOFI. They used the word significantly. Significant is something that cannot be measured, right? They have to put a range. And what caused the problem is they used 2 different systems in their presentation, the metric system and the US system, the English system. So there was a distance or a tolerance of an O-seal, an O-ring that's on the fuel kind of canisters that wasn't designed properly, and it had a fatigue, and you know, the thing went apart. So the point is, because of using confined space, they had to kind of shortcut a few things. They used less than best practices to explain stuff. What does normal velocity mean? What is it talking about? It's vague. These things can't be measured. And it wasn't really a good slide. And when the review took place, they agreed and they went on, and thing took off. And as you can see here, so actually many good companies today don't use PowerPoint. For example, at Amazon, PowerPoints and slides are prohibited in staff meetings. So what does Amazon do? Before a meeting, they give people a memo that's 6 pages or less. They give them 5 minutes to read it, then they start talking about what's in it. So they use documents. Documents have proven, documents just like the ones you guys were working on, like this one, have proven to be much more effective in explaining things, in referring back to things. It gives you flexibility as an author to present ideas and information, and also gives the reader the big picture. You can have a table of contents, you can have a footnote, you can have bolds, colors, all kinds of things, chapters. It makes it much more easier than a slide deck. So that's why documents and good document presentations are important, because as you can see, actually lives are at stake sometimes when we just don't write good documents. All right, any questions on this before we jump into dashboards?
No questions from my end.